I was on one the other day, and I had poured myself. It's a seltzer, right, with lime, just out of the can from Walmart. And I realized it looks like it could be almost anything. And I'm like, maybe I won't consume anything on calls just for the potential view of it.
Yep.
So misconception can be everything. So
absolutely.
All right. So Bob will be joining us in a minute, but I've got 6:01 as a time to call to order. In looking at the participant list, I see everybody on the commission is here with the exception of Dan and Bob, who will be joining. So I think we've got a quorum to continue. First things first, taking a look at the minutes from May 6th. Thank you, Dana, for circulating these. Are there any comments as it relates to changes or other adjustments that we need to make before we vote to adopt?
I don't see any myself.
So the only thing that might be missing is the recommended fee for the annual pass for a town resident.
That's what I picked up on. I thought we had $15 down for the annual fee.
I thought once Trish came on and we decided that, or she advised us that we didn't have to charge a Tiverton resident, that we changed that. I don't know. I have it written down like 4 times and scratched out, so I could be wrong.
I thought it was $10.
One sec.
Yeah, the last note I have shows 15 for the season, and then the other rates all check out. So I don't know.
I don't think I actually addressed in here the fee for the season.
Oh,
I put free. So you want me to put, was it 10?
Was 10. 10, I think, is what we had here.
okay.
Yep.
Or 15?
10.
10?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so because what it was is the day pass during a weekend was the same price as the season pass.
Right.
So the midweek was actually less. So there was that question about how would that work and just a $5 discrepancy, but we figured we'd make it work. So I'd like to entertain a motion to accept the minutes with the one modification to the Tiverton resident with a town pass pricing. Can I get a motion for that?
Motion.
Got a motion from Ed. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay. Any additional discussion or debate? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Aye.
Anybody opposed or abstain? Nope. Awesome. Dana, thank you. As always, I love your work. Well done. Cool.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Next up, I actually could use some guidance on a point of procedure on this. There's an acknowledgement for the letter from Linda Gouvet. I hope I didn't mispronounce her last name. Do we need to vote to have that recognized? Is there what's the parliamentary procedure for recognizing a letter?
I believe it's just accepting correspondence.
Sorry, what was that, Chris?
A motion to accept correspondence.
All right, works for me. Can I get a motion to accept correspondence?
I make a motion to accept it.
Okay, I've got a motion from Ed and a second from Rachel. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Sarah.
Motion carries. Excellent.
Where are you? Oh, there you are.
Okay, treasurer's report. Rachel, have we done anything?
I don't have an update to the one that we just presented 2 weeks ago. I'll get a treasurer's report for us at our next meeting.
That's fine. I just always leave it on the agenda in case something pops up. So I just as a note on this, as we get further down into the beaches, one of the things that we're going to have to look at is that there are some expenditures we're going to have to make to be able to prepare ourselves for the summer. So every time Sarah and I have looked at the beach protocols, it's kind of a rabbit's warren because there's more and more stuff that we have to do. So just as an awareness, as we get into that, there will be some action between now and the next meeting for things we have to include. Sarah, would you like to give a recreation coordinator's report?
Well, I mean, we've just been working on looking at all the guidelines for the beaches and how we can open them safely. And I know we're going to talk about that more. So do you want to wait?
Sure.
I mean, I don't know, like, there's a lot to say, but I know a lot of it is like on our agenda items, and I've just been working on like the same things with you. I've gotten a few emails about people asking me if there's gonna be camps. It's mostly from people who are new to town. And I've just been telling them that there's a lot of new guidelines, and we're kind of, cause I don't want to like, we haven't like officially, I know we're thinking about not doing it, but we haven't like officially done it. So I just told them like, we're trying to see if we can safely do it and just kind of leave it at that. So that's the main things that have been going on. We did order beach passes. They haven't come in yet, but they've been ordered. So.
Paul's Press, is that the gentleman who's doing it for us, Sarah?
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Yep. And they told me yesterday that the season passes would have been in today or tomorrow, and they were going to call me, but I didn't get a call today. So.
Stu, I have one thing that I'm not going to elaborate on it because we got a lot to do. I got to go to work at midnight tonight. I got a detail so I'm not going to draw things out here, but I've been doing the social distancing police department. Not a very nice detail. Now, when we open up these beaches, we're going to have these young men and women at these at the gates. We're going to be doing the counting, and we're going to have counters like counting the people coming in, cars, and things of this nature. I don't want to jump the gun, but I'm sure there's going to be social distancing, for this beach to be open per the governor, as far as that's concerned. So, and who's going to tell people to leave? Because I'll tell you one thing, I've had a great response with some of the people in town, and I've gotten some nasty people that wanted to become attorneys real quick. And you got to stand your ground, and I'm not saying the kids can't do it because they're very polite kids, but there's only a portion where they go, hey, this is not my job. You know what I mean? So I'm not saying that we need to have police present, nothing like that. But I think, myself, Joe Perry, and I'm not electing Joe Perry, volunteering anyone, but someone needs to be with these kids to stop this off. Let's just put it this way, until the norm is set in place where they go, hey, it might be a beach for, 50 cars, but we're only gonna have 25. That kind of thing. That's just want to make that point. That's all.
Yep. No, it's a really good point, Ed.
The key thing there is it's the state guidelines we have to follow. And I think that's really what we just have to enforce those guidelines. And if we need police, but you'll also have, the guidelines that the state attendants or anyone else can refer to. I know there's been a lot of complaints about what's gone on down in Fogland. We've done some blockage there. Everyone's complaining about it, and it's state rules. You fall back on that. I think that's really where we have to take our lead from.
Well, it's funny, Chris, because I was doing details we were rotating, two of us. Actually, three of us were rotating. Grinnell, the bridge, and Fogland. And you're doing this rotating. I mean, you're not going to do 90 miles an hour to get from Grinnell to Fogland and put anyone in danger. And then I went down there the second time and the ropes were cut.
Yep.
So I didn't mean it's like, it's just crazy. I mean, people are going to do what they want to do, but at the same token, it's like, you got to be kidding.
Yeah.
And I mean, people want to get out of the house. Hey, I raised my hand, but the law is the law. So many people came in, Grinnell, and they would look at me and I'd say, read the sign. Oh, we can't come in. Yeah. Hey, listen, it's not our choice. It's an executive order from the government. Yeah, but you come to our market basket. Yes, that's essential. I need to eat to survive. You're coming here with a Dunkin' Donut coffee. Enjoy this beautiful weather that God gifted us. But yes, I don't take great pride in asking you to leave. I'm asking you to leave.
So just for a point of information, those signs will be coming down before June 1st.
Okay, cool, Chris, cool. All right, well, that's a big help right there alone. That's a big help. Are we still going to, I mean, they're coming down, so presently right now, are Massachusetts people welcome to the beaches right now?
So come June 1st, the governor has lifted the quarantine for out-of-state people for all states that have lifted their stay-at-home orders. And every New England state has, with the exception of New York City.
All right, so that takes care of that question, and that takes care of all that in a matter of speaking. It's just now, so that kind of negates what I said earlier. As of June 1st, we don't have to worry about counting people, cars, and all that, correct?
Right, we'll still have a mandate as far as how many people will be allowed based on the square footage of the beach, how many parking spaces, there'll be
Okay.
some limitations. So, and Sarah and hopefully the planner have been going through some of those issues. and-
Yeah, so speaking of that, so I have the square footage and I looked at what Narragansett Town Beach did where they said it was one person for every 100 square feet.
Right.
Grinnell's, it's the square footage for the entire like area, so it includes the parking lot and the abutment.
Mhm.
So, and that's 12,000 square feet.
Okay,
Give us 120 people, and then Trisha said that you can estimate that there's about 4 people per car, so that's about 30 cars. But would we do less than that because the parking lot doesn't really count as our space?
Right.
Maybe do like 25 cars. And then Fogland is a little bit more complicated. So the map also for Fogland, it gives you the square footage for like the whole area. So it has like the opposite side, like that's not really our beach, but you know what I mean? Like that part. It also has like the road that goes to where the houses are and the grassy area. So it's like 1,900,000 square feet, which I know the beach
Yeah.
isn't really that big. So I'm not exactly sure how to figure out the square footage of the beach unless we have one of those things where you can like walk the beach and count, you know, like
Right.
So I don't know if we have, I mean, I would be willing to do that. I'll go down to the beach and walk and figure out the square footage.
I'll get DPW to get on and measure the road of the open beach area that we allow
Okay,
and do a fairly estimate of what the up to the mean high tide is,
okay.
so that we'll have a better estimate as to what the beach area really is.
Yeah, because then when you read the guidelines, like I don't think there's anything that's like an exact, like you have to make sure that you only have this amount of people. It's kind of like they want you to have a plan so you can limit it.
Yep.
So if we do have an estimate, then we can estimate how many cars we can let in.
Okay.
So, but I would say Grinnell's, we could probably do like 25 to 30 cars. We
Right.
can do
I'm
that.
going to defer to the committee. Once we have the square footage and the guidelines, so I'll defer to, you can be more restrictive than the state if you want to be. It's going to be a lot for your guys, for your gate handlers and for your lifeguards to handle. So I would defer to you guys what you think they're comfortable with.
Mhm.
And we will also augment, you know, obviously with police and other details from DPW's part-time help will be helping to clean the restrooms.
Right.
I'm sure we'll have some adults come down to help monitor and
As I was looking at like tickets we sold last year, but obviously last year too, we could let in more cars, but the most tickets we sold at Grinnell's was 56, but that means that was all people from out of state.
right.
So then that means there was probably a lot of people, but you can only fit 48 cars, I think it is.
Right, 48 cars.
And at Fogland, the most we've ever sold was 116, but we're gonna have to count people even who have like passes because that counts as a person or.
You brought up something, Sarah, real quick that I was going to touch on. And again, I don't want to elaborate in depth with this because we got a lot on the agenda, but the fishermen or fishing women too, that come in that beach, even though they pay, we're going to have town residents that go, wait a minute, they paid or not, you know, we're only allowed 25 cars of Tiverton or Rhode Island residents. So now what do we do with, what happened?
You're still
No.
there.
Okay, so what do we do with this now? Even to say, okay, we're gonna charge a lot of Massachusetts people coming in to go fishing at 6 a.m. The gates aren't open anyway, I get that. So what do we tell our gate attendants that this is strictly for Rhode Island residents and turn around and see you later and that kind of thing, you know?
it
It's
will
not
not,
about,
it will not be for Rhode Island residents.
But what I'm saying, Chris, is coming into Grinnell, correct? We have a lot of fishing people that come in there, you know, that want to go fishing.
Yeah.
We charge them, correct?
Yeah.
I don't know.
But now we're limiting the space.
I want.
Okay, we're limiting parking spaces.
Correct.
If you have 6 or 8 vehicles back there that went fishing, that limits, I'm gonna say town residents and Rhode Island residents to use Grinnell.
I think that happens anyway.
Right, it happens anyway, but we're gonna put parking. All right, well, hey, play it by ear. Let's not worry about something that hasn't taken place.
I think what we'll need to do is coordinate with the police department not to open the gate until there's a gate attendant there.
Well, the gate
Yeah.
attendant, either I open it or the gate attendants open it.
Right,
Anyway, so the gates open, they usually open at 9 because we get there at 8:45
right.
and like set up and get everything ready. And then once we're ready, we open the gate. So it's usually like 9 o'clock
Okay,
when the gate opens.
and
then
I'll
we
be there.
leave it open. We usually leave it open and then the police close it at night.
Right.
Because we don't kick people off the beach, but this year we might have to do that. I don't know.
Well, you're gonna have to, because that's, I mean, I know Little Compton's going through that now. They're closing the gate at 6 PM. You have to be off.
Right.
Your
Which I
car
think,
has to be off the beach.
right, which I think we would need a cop to help us with that.
You probably will. We'll schedule a detail to get down there. At least as we get going for the first
Yeah.
couple of weeks to make sure there's somebody there.
Because I talked to Jim Farrell from Little Compton today, and he says that sometimes when he's locking the gate, he feels like he's gonna get shot because people are so mad at him.
They've never had a gate.
Yep.
I feel
Oh,
bad.
I know.
Yeah, so I would only just offer 2 thoughts on this. One is, you right, Dana?
Yeah, I'm
You okay,
fine.
Dana?
It wasn't me, it was my iPad went bloop, bloop.
I'm not gonna lie, having like the Earth background is even better when you just
Yeah.
disappear into space.
Black hole there, didn't she?
So my 2 points on this, I think, Ed, to your comment about trying to provide access for town residents first, I think that's always the goal in what we do. I think logistically it's very difficult for us to do that based on how things are structured. So when we open the gates formally, if there's no restrictions on state versus out of state residents, the first folks to get there, and on the passes, it says the pass is not a guarantee of a parking spot, which I definitely sympathize with people, but there's nothing we can really control. My other comment, because you made a really good point about the gate attendants and lifeguards, us not putting them into positions where they are essentially receiving the brunt of somebody's aggression for the fact that the state requirements are in place.
Mhm.
And so in conversations with Chief Jones, and I think Chris has also indicated it here, we're going to make sure that they are not dealing with conflict. That is not what their job is. Their job is to facilitate and handle the task. And if they feel like any situation is escalating, we're going to tell them point blank, do not get in the middle of it. That's not your job.
Right.
So I think as we go forward, many of you know that the town council, and it's just an example of this, town council had to push off their meeting to Friday. There hasn't been an approval on a parking pass fee, the structure we submitted. When that goes through, I have no doubt that there will be some people that will be disappointed that if it goes through, that there is a fee in place. And
Right.
so I don't want the gate attendants to feel the brunt of that. I think we're gonna have to figure out how we as a commission, and Sarah and I've talked about this, are there to help volunteer, at least early on a pretty regular basis, to facilitate that and take some of the heat off them, specifically with the season passes. And I'll be one of the first ones to step up and commit my time to doing it and taking some days. But I'm also going to ask all of you to try and step up where you can, especially maybe on weekends, to help out a little bit. I think it's really important that we set the tone. Just from a data point, of the 19 towns in Rhode Island, municipalities that charge for parking passes, we would be 18th with this price increase out of them. So it's not a huge increase, but it is an increase and it's a change. And I'm respectful of that. So I want to make sure we don't put our folks on the front lines.
Well, I'll volunteer, put the uniform on and start off the season. I'll take that confrontation away from the kids because I've been doing it right along with the social distancing. So whether the chief asks me or not, I'll put the uniform on and then at least if they see someone there, they're gonna go, oops. And then the day I can't do it, or the chief says, okay, I'm gonna put I'm gonna put one of the guys down near it, don't worry about it, then that's fine. That's the chief's decision, but
I have something, do you think we could get, like, like a sandwich board sign that says lot is full? And maybe that would help once the lot is full, because it is gonna be less cars in there. That'll deter some people from trying to get in. They'll say, oh,
Right.
and just move along.
We have that at Grinnell's.
You're gonna need the fog one too.
And maybe even like at Fogland, because it's more out of the way, maybe even get something and post it like at the light near Grinnell's, or, I mean, not Grinnell's, Gray's, excuse me.
Yep.
And so people aren't going down there.
right. No, that's a good idea.
Drive by at Fogland and say, well, let me look and see if there's a spot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let me see if I can get in.
The only time Fogland ever was full last year, though, was 4th of July.
Yes,
And
Yes.
that never happened, but this year would be different because
yes,
Right,
you
will
have
it be
to
different
stop
this year
it
too?
after a certain amount of cars go in.
Right, well, that plus the fact of other things might be closed down more often, so people might be heading to beaches more.
Right.
So we're
Like,
gonna also have to
you might
deal with
get
the
a lot more
residents
people
at
on
the
the
end of
weekdays.
Fogland.
Hold on, we got two different people going.
sorry.
Chris Cotta, you want to go first, and then Chris Romlin?
I was just gonna say that you need to deal with the residents at the end of Fogland, so we may want to put some indicator on their pass that we know, a sticker for them, even if they're, I don't know how we deal with them, just so we know that they can go through even after the beach is full. So it's gonna be an issue we have to wrestle with as well.
I feel like pretty close early on in the season, we figure out who lives there.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, who they
I'm
are.
sure I'm sure you'll figure it out. You're gonna have people try to test it.
No, I know that, but
yeah.
Hey, Stu.
Good call. Yes, Bob.
Bob?
Hey, I tried to chime in before when you're talking about us volunteering to work at the beaches and stuff like that. I brought up at one of the meetings that I think it'd be a good idea if the Recreation Committee had T-shirts that stated like Recreation Commission. So this way here, when we approach somebody, they know that we are from the Recreation Committee, not just a Joe, just not somebody with a plain shirt on.
Yep, that's
Designate. Staff,
absolutely. And
whatever
so
we want to put on it. Yep.
Sarah and I have talked about the staff shirts as well. And so that's an element of it. I think one of the pieces that we're trying to figure out on our end is financially how that works, just because every expenditure is an expenditure. And so, what can we ease our way into versus doing what can we sort of wait until the budget sorts itself out? But it's a really valid point, Bob. Totally hear you. Yeah.
I can get a hold of Eugene Raposa tomorrow and just see how much he's going to charge per T-shirt. We need what, 7?
Well, we'd want to probably do the staff ones as well. And I'd say that the pricing that I'm finding is somewhere between $6 and $8 a shirt. Probably could go a little bit less, but simple color, one print. Yeah, we can take that offline because I agree with you. I think it's a good idea for us to figure out how to do it, starting with staff and going from there. And even if it's a matter of, one of us takes care of it out of pocket and then we figure it out later. I'm not real worried. We can make it work.
Stu,
Yes, Joe.
what about the gate attendants? Don't they get shirts too, and the lifeguards?
Yep. That's part of that
So
same.
you'd need more than 7, Bob.
Yeah, well, want me to see if you can give us a price for like 25 shirts?
Yeah, I want to connect with Sarah and see what kind of quantities she's looking at. I think giving the kids a couple of shirts, and we talked about, also it does get a little chilly down there sometimes. And so, how far do we go with this to make sure that they're appropriately dressed? We also, and I'll table some of what I was going to say until we get to the beach part, but there's a lot of other resources that we have to provide to them on a individual basis where like sunscreen, we might have previously been able to do it in bulk. That can't happen this year. So we're going to have to look at that. Chris Romlin, I apologize for keeping you waiting.
Oh, I just had a quick comment. That's really to Sarah, is that I think with the employment situation, a lot of people not working, that your weekdays, especially in July, are going to be busier.
oh,
Just
right.
an observation. What I've seen in just in
Yeah.
Newport the
Mhm.
last few days is a lot of people out not working.
That's a good point.
Good point. Very good point, Chris.
Tough stuff. All right. So we've got beach on here a little bit later on, and we can talk
Yep.
some more about this. But really good comments. Thank you, everybody. I put this on here and I had set it up so Linda had been able to speak with us, but I don't see her on the info or the call list. So I just wanted to put this in front of folks to kind of digest. There's no actionable item to it. We had spoken previously, and Bob, you had raised the comment about RVs and how that would look. As a data point, South Shore has excluded campers this year, if I'm correct, Sarah, is that right?
Yes.
Yep.
So I don't know, right now, as part of our proposal to the town council, we're allowing for, I think it was a $25 fee for RVs. This would be an additional request to the town council. We go through a process, which is why in looking at the concept of an overnight pass, it was something that, I thought maybe we just look at this as a larger scale. So at this particular point, I just kind of want to see if there's any general feedback on what's here or other comments to the concept of an RV specific pass that could or could not include overnight parking. And if there's anything from a pricing structure that looks attractive or really out of whack from what's listed in here, because this is all talking points.
So Stu, my feeling on that is just so you guys know, we are doing, we're trying to apply for a grant right now for Fogland, and it's an ecological grant, part of the global warming, sea level rising. And part of that is a study of the entire space to see how parking is going to fit in there. And one of the things we could include would be a dedicated area that RVs go. But I do think it's important that they're in one area, just like they are South Shore Beach. They put them in one section. And that's really so the whole beach doesn't get overtaken. It's also easier to police and easier to see where they're at. So I think that could be part of that proposal for 2021, that we include that in there, because if that is an important thing, people want to have space. I think having a dedicated area, obviously stable area, right? Because you don't want to just have everybody driving over the beach. The one thing of Fogland, if you've been down there recently with the dunes and what's going on over there, is there's not a ton of parking in the RVs. When they do go, they usually go parallel to the water, which means they take up a lot of spaces, and that would be an issue because you really don't have a ton of parking there. And that's definitely something we're going to address when we look at that, what that area looks like in terms of drainage, the roadway and all that. So that would just be my comment. If we do that, I think it's going to be a dedicated area we need to do, and how many spots there are, and model it over what South Shore Beach did. But I do think you should push it into 2021, just so we don't have RVs kind of all over the place.
That's good info.
I agree.
One thing I did learn into the size capacity, and I think the grant thing is a really interesting way to look at it, because it may be able to let us come out with a better plan in the long run.
I think so.
The size, and I put it in here, that the average size of a Class A motorhome is 33 feet. And so what I was trying to think of is, if we went all the way down to the end of Fogland, currently as it's situated, how much space could you put and then still have opportunities for social distancing and go further? In speaking with a few people that frequent Fogland regularly, they kind of like the idea of having an extra set of eyes down there as well. People that would help, make sure that there wasn't vandalism. So something to account for. But yeah, this was just for discussion. We'll keep going. Love to know more about the grant, Chris, because I think there's a good feed within that too.
I agree. It's good to connect the two things. I think the area we were looking at is closer to where the lifeguard stand is now, sort of towards the south of that. And that's where they used to do boat ramp parking, but very few people use that boat ramp now because it's really not very usable. So that's a nice area, and it's up front. So that would be as people are coming in, and if there is the use of those, campers to keep an eye on the place, that's a nice area to do it. It's also out of the wind.
Very cool. All right. Any other general comments before we sort of move on that? No? Okay. All right. So the next topic on here pertains to a vote regarding holding summer camp. And I just want to give a few prefacing comments. So I spent a fair amount of time trying to figure out how we could potentially operate a summer camp at Pecasset. The state is requiring that if you have more than 50 students in a particular location, you have to have a dedicated plan that gets submitted and reviewed. Between Sarah and myself, we've been on essentially 2 webinars a week with the state recreation departments for the last 3 weeks, listening to some of the challenges and some of the requirements and the associated expenses that would come from doing this. Things that would have to happen, for example, barriers between different groups. So you can have a ratio of 15 campers to, I think it's 2 counselors in a particular area, but you have to have a barrier of about 6 feet. And so there were discussions about how could cones work or other guidance. Bathrooms would be another element because at the Cassett, right now, the only bathrooms that we have, there's one porta potty as well as the schools were potentially available. And if there was any type of inclement weather and we tried to move everybody inside, there may not be enough space to do so. The other option would be that we would have to cancel the camp for the day and send everybody home and filter people out through different places. In looking at it and also sort of looking at what other towns are doing and the costs that we would take on as a result of doing this, I'm not sure there's a way that we can run summer camp at this point. I just, from a safety standpoint for the kids in town, from a financial standpoint, I think there's just a lot of pieces that are putting barriers in the way here. And it kills me to even say that because I know the value of this camp to the town. And trust me, I was looking for every potential way, but we run it at a deficit to begin with, and to try and find scholarships to offset just to get back to where we were in this climate, that's tough, not to mention all the logistics behind it. And I'm curious to hear what other people thought, but I wanted to lead off with that's what my experience so far from looking at this has been.
Well, the big key here, Stu, and I agree with you, is safety. The children, that's our first priority. And then to get someone to get this and the expense to the Recreation Committee / Town of Tiverton, I hate to say it myself, you can only volunteer so much of your body and your life, but I mean, how far do you go and to what expense? So, as much as I hate to say it, because of the town counts on it with their children, but how else can you get around this? I don't see another way. I mean, with this situation with I call it Miller Lite, but it's just like, wow, this has been dumped on us as many other towns in the country and the world, but I don't see how we can sustain the expenses, and then you're gonna hire camp counselors or these, and you're just gonna run out. We're gonna forget something, and it's gonna come and bite us. So I agree with you. If we just say no up front, we're sorry, we didn't ask for this, but you have my vote as far as that's concerned. I agree with you.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with that. Agree with Ed. I run a business and we've had to take so many measures. We've got a full-time safety officer walking around, watching people, how close they are. And I think to take that liability on and try to actually, do that with kids is going to be really, really difficult. Because I mean, kids are kids. They want to play. They want to hang out together. That's the whole fun. And if you have to stay 6 feet apart or 8 feet apart or 10 feet apart, that's all you'll be doing. And if you only have 15 kids, it's going to be really, really difficult, I think, for the town, for us to pull it off. We'd need 4 camps, 4 counselors, 4 separate places. And every one of those 4 people is going to have to be trained like a safety officer for these guidelines. It's really, really difficult. We've just spent 10 weeks going through it, and we're learning more every day. And every Monday, it's like a new thing we have to adopt. So it's sad, but I think we should probably cancel it for the year.
I'm going to agree with everyone that's already spoken. In addition to all of the challenges we've already talked about, we don't even have a camp coordinator for us this year. Sandy, who had run it so well for us all those years, was not going to be returning this year. We're so far behind from even having a person who could try to tackle figuring this out. I agree with Chris, when you trying to run a business, you have to have more staff than you normally do to meet all of the recommendations to keep everyone safe. And, at the end of the day, we have to balance the safety of all these children and the families that they go home to. A lot of these kids are probably spending summer with the grandparents, and we certainly don't want to be the source of an outbreak either, because kids don't want to stay away from each other. That would be really hard to socially distance children at camp. So I do think, regretfully so, that this is something to cancel for this season.
I mean, just look at it this way. Every time, like tonight, when I go in to do this detail, have to have my temperature taken. So who's going to be responsible for taking every temperatures of a child? And the responsibility and the liability goes on the town.
Yeah, and to that point, Ed, so one of the things that I did as part of this exercise in my day job, we run instructional programs across the US, and we train about 1,500 instructors to teach sailing. I've had to take all of the documentation I can find and modify it to each state. And I'll
Wow.
tell you that the documentation for each state starts off at 8 pages, detailed, and then it
Yeah.
gets state specific. So the protocols in place, and also thinking about if I'm a camp counselor, that I'm going to spend my entire summer in what could be 90-degree heat wearing a mask.
Mhm.
And then if it rains, one of the other things I didn't mention is we don't have any coverage for shade. Last year, I actually contributed the tents because trees have been cut down. So each of the areas we'd have to get it. We also, just from a timing standpoint, Rachel, you commented accurately that we're behind the 8 ball on this. The guidance from the state, which is very good, I want to commend them, but the guidance for this didn't come out until 5/21. So it came out
Yeah,
7
this week.
days ago.
Yeah.
And so we've been trying really quickly to catch up. I just don't think we're at a point where we can do that. Chris Cotta or Sarah, I don't know if either of you have thoughts on this from where you sit.
I mean, I agree with everything that everyone said. And even when we posted the position, nobody even applied. And I think that's partly because of everything that's going on. Like, people were unsure. So like, who's going to apply for a camp job when you don't know if there's going to be camp? So I think it would just be too much to try to get it all together, like financially, and also to do it safely. Because of the guidelines, it's too hard to like follow them.
I just think you're in a very precarious position with a volunteer board to try to put on a camp program that has so many different guidelines and mandates that you have to do in order to get this camp off the ground.
Yeah.
So I agree wholeheartedly with the positions that you all taken.
Okay. Any other comments before I ask for a motion? And I feel like this is something that we should vote on to not
I
hold
agree.
summer camp.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So are there any other comments that anybody wants to make before I entertain a motion?
Do it up, Stu.
All right. So could I entertain a motion to cancel the 2020 summer camp program?
I'll make a motion, we cancel the
I've got a
2020.
motion from Bob and a second from Dana. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Bob, I'm assuming you're saying aye because you made the motion.
Yes, I raised my hand. You didn't see me?
I
Well, I
did.
No,
made the
Bob.
motion, so never mind, we'll be good
Yeah.
tonight. So, aye, yep.
Okay. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. The only other comment I want to make on this is for the kids of the town and the parents that are displaced. I think, we collectively, I'm sorry, there's nothing else we can do. I wish there was. Even Hopkinton today canceled theirs, or yesterday, which is one of the things we were looking at. So my heart goes out to the people that are impacted by this. I think, and Sarah and I had talked, I'd like to see if we can figure out if there's things we can direct them to in other places that we're not managing. Not that we would have any involvement with directly, but recommendations for things. So Chris, what's your question?
So there is some guidance coming out for recreational sports. It's very, very similar to the camps. They would be in groups of 15 or less. The only issue with it is, again, you're gonna have to have a number of volunteers to help get this off. But that grouping, the child would have to pick one particular sport and stay with it. That's it. They can't cross sports, so they can't do like a baseball camp, a basketball camp, a soccer camp, and get intermingled with different kids. They're gonna pick one sport, stay with those 15 kids for the entire season, and they can only do scrimmages among those 15 kids. They can't scrimmage among another group of 15 kids.
Right.
So they haven't fully come out with all the guidance. It is being dictated by CDC, but there is a potential that there may be some availability for like baseball camps or basketball camps. But again, the cleaning issues, the sanitation issues, all those issues that you just alluded to about the summer camps are going to be in play for those as well. So we're still waiting for the guidance to come out on those, but there is some hope that it may be a little better than the camp program.
I thought I had heard on those summer sports camps that they wouldn't be able to play games against each other. It would really only be, so like, because the baseball team has 18 people for the two teams, that's too many people.
Right.
So really what they would only be doing would be like skills camps.
Correct. It's skills, development skills, conditioning, and those kind of things that they could do. And they can only do it among themselves within that
Right.
50 member group.
Right, yeah, they can't move amongst other groups.
But there's, like when they throw a baseball, it's like, it's crazy because they have to clean the baseball.
Yeah, so those guidelines, Chris, actually, they came out today and I was looking over them earlier and they say exactly what you did, which is you pick a sport and you're with it. I did have the representatives from soccer reach out to me. And what I said to them is, I'm happy to look at it with them and try to provide any guidance to see if it's even feasible. Because again, there's the town, if it's on town property, we want to have involvement with it and see what could happen. Again, that conversation, we just had an email exchange today, so there hasn't been any movement and it would probably come back in front of the commission before anything occurred.
There's also, the governor also said that on July 1st, it could change and she's looking to do league sports and tournament. So like this might be just for the month of June where it's 15 and then July it loosens up a little bit more. So like fall soccer might end up being okay, but I don't think we'll know.
She told us 2 days ago it's from June through August, so.
She said today, July.
Wow.
She up in circles.
I know, it's frustrating, but it is
She
what it
said
is.
it on the news today that it was July.
But
Hey,
there's at least
can we
some
have-
movement there.
I'm sorry, can we hop back to that beach? We were talking about the beach and the t-shirts and everybody volunteering there.
It's actually
Just
the
for a
next
second?
item after summer camp, so you're right in line.
Oh, wonderful, I'll wait then.
Okay.
I think we're there for summer camp, so
Yep.
for the beach protocol. So go ahead, Dana.
All right, I had emailed Matt McGuire and Rachel Mata regarding getting the community service hours from students if they needed any. We had talked about this, about having them help us at the beaches, patrol the beaches, clean the beaches, stuff like that. So I just kind of sent Matt and Rachel an email asking if, because they're the coordinators, if this would be something that they would like to partner with us to do. And, we're just reaching out now. We don't have anything specific, but would they be interested in helping us with this? And Matt wrote back to me. I just got it as we were talking about the sports stuff. And I was like, ooh. He said, that's a great idea. Let me know what you need me to do to help. So they would be on board with us getting the community service hours from the kids,
That's
or
great.
at least at the high school anyway.
Really cool.
That's something we should definitely get going because you want to get them lined up before, I don't know.
Somebody
July
Before
else,
school's out.
Yeah, now.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you, Dana.
Hey, Sarah, since we're talking about that, Sarah, is that something if we sent you like on a random day, 2 people, could you show them just walking around cleaning up and stuff like that?
Yeah, if we know like when.
Yeah.
Yeah. They
So
could do,
Dana-
I feel like they would have to come like early and
Yeah.
probably like pick up the beach, like the trash, like the thing that everyone complains about.
Yeah.
I got lawns that gotta be cut.
Yeah.
Way to go, Joe.
I don't think that's how that works, Joe.
So
I'll give it
Dana,
to
why
service.
don't you find out if you can get 6 or 10 people, even 6 or 12 for the summer? The more
Okay.
the better. And then
Another
try to get some schedule lined up because then when you can start doing it tomorrow kind of thing. You know what I mean? Not that you'd really do it tomorrow, but you can start the next week or so you can start getting.
Sure. What would you want me to tell
service on
them
it
that,
would be awesome.
what we're looking for them to do? Just pick up the beaches or?
Pick up the beaches, and I think it's really just being a presence on the beach of somebody walking around, right? So the lifeguards are
Yeah.
located by this lifeguard stands, the gate attendants are on the other side. If somebody's just walking up and down the beach, and
The
again, the shirt's
other-
okay, having the shirt would be key for that. So I do think we ought to put the money into that.
Yep.
Uh,
Another thing with some of the guidelines too, it says that like high traffic areas need to be like wiped down. So like even like
Mhm.
in the bathroom, like wiping the sink, or if we have porta potties, which we talked about for Fogland, like they would wipe like the door with a Clorox wipe or something, you know what I mean, to kind of keep up with that kind of stuff
The
too.
sanitary, yeah.
Yeah. And it'd be just like, obviously we would have professional cleaning done, but like just to wipe doors, doorknobs and sinks and things like that to
Right.
to do it more
Okay,
often.
Yeah.
what
'Cause
I'll
you
do is,
know- oh,
Sarah and whoever else wants it, I'll, before I email Matt, I'll email you guys a draft and let me know if
Okay.
you want me to add or take anything back out of it or whatever, okay?
Mhm.
You know, that's a great idea because when you see, even on not Facebook, but you see on, you know, YouTube and whatnot, you see even going to Walmart, which I don't do a lot, especially in Fall River. But you see rubber gloves, masks. It's disgusting
Mhm.
that you see all this in the parking lot and the carriages and whatnot. So if you do have someone there wiping down the facility, you know, the bathroom areas and stuff like that, because you know as well as I know that you're not going to have the mom wiping down the sink at our beach house and saying, okay, it's good for the next one. They're going to do it before their child, but after that, they're going to go, okay, I'm done with this. I'm not here to be a janitor, you know? So that's a great idea to have these kids join in, obviously supplying with the gloves and, you know, all the things that need.
Maybe we should get them like those trash grabber, grabber nabber things.
Yeah.
Students,
Oh,
this
good.
is younger kids, you know what I'm talking about.
We should get in those.
So this way they don't have to pick up like gloves that they find on the ground.
Yeah, God.
I
Anyway,
think the big thing just by having people walking the beaches, and especially
Yes,
again, if they got the
yeah.
shirts on, is that people see a presence, and that presence, Ed, you're a
Yeah.
good example. I mean, although you were police out there, you set the tone last year. Now, high school kids aren't going to set the tone, but they do keep people aware that somebody's out there watching.
plus the people on the beach, Chris, plus the people on the beach sees that presence. They're gonna go, wow, they're really taking a genuine interest in making sure that this beach is clean.
Mhm.
Yep.
So that's good. Good.
So Sarah, can you and
Gotcha.
Dana connect on sort of steps for the volunteers, like when we could use them potentially? And then I think kind of shifting into the heart of this particular item, there's a lot of things that we have to get for beach cleaning supplies, resources for lifeguards, resources for gate attendants. Some of the protocols I think we're getting close to having done, but we do need to get some of the resources to be able to facilitate running the getting people through the beaches. Chris, Kata, where, from a financial standpoint, how do you want us to handle some of this stuff? Is it just if we have to get it, we should be getting it, or?
Yes.
Okay.
And if you are running short, let me know and I'll figure out a way to pay for it.
Cool. Thank you.
I like Chris's answer. I'll figure something out. That's
Don't
the
worry.
old school way. That's
It's
the
a
old school
social
way.
distancing Bugatti. It's fine.
Yes.
It's just for me though. It's cool.
Well, some of this is gonna get reimbursed through the COVID, CARES Act stuff as
Right.
well. So,
Okay.
we are wrestling with people's budgets on these issues. So we'll figure it out.
Okay. I mean, I don't expect us to go crazy with it. It's
No.
really what we're
Oh, yeah.
mandated to have. So.
What about, while we're talking about things like that, so from last year, we don't have a whole lot of money like going to get through like the beginning of the beach season. So I looked at, if we open the first week in June and just we're open on the weekends until the last week of June, we could potentially have 15 beach days. And if we're paying one gate attendant and one lifeguard every single day, which normally we have 2 gate attendants on the weekends, we're just paying one every day is using almost all of the money we have left in our budget from last year for those 15 days.
You mean this year?
Yeah, this year.
Yes.
This year.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like last
Last
year.
year.
Well, last year's money, it's gone.
I'm ready for like next.
That's history, Sarah.
But so like we ordered beach passes, which is obviously something we need. We're gonna have to pay for them. We're gonna have to pay for the kids who are working. I know we're gonna need lifeguard umbrellas, because I don't know how many times Ed and I went to Walmart last year to buy them after they break.
Yep.
So we need like a heavy duty like lifeguard umbrella.
Right.
And so like, how does that work? Because like that's not all like COVID stuff. It's just like
No, I get it.
necessary safety. Do we just,
That was
Pardon?
in the budget request. That actually, I think, made it through so not that it's in the budget, but it made it through, and the budget committee, I think, retained it because it was stuff that had been identified by the American Red Cross and that review that you mentioned, Sarah.
that starts July 1st. So like we need that stuff before then. So how does that work?
So you give me a list of things that you need. We'll talk offline about what your budget should look like and where it is,
Okay.
and where your shortfalls are.
Okay.
And you let me deal with the rest of it.
Okay.
Thank you,
And
Chris.
And one more budget question while we're talking about this.
No, you're not getting raised.
No, I'm not asking. I already know that. That wasn't approved. No, so part of the budget for next year, so starting July, we did have camp, like money for camp to pay. What happens to that?
So
History.
that budget right now is not approved.
Okay.
That budget is going to get probably totally reworked by the budget committee based
Okay.
on the financial condition that we're faced with right now with the gaming and a number of other things that we're
Okay.
facing with shortfall. So I would assume after this meeting that will be one of the ticket items that they'll knock right off that list immediately. So
Okay.
I don't think that'll be a problem of trying to figure out what to do.
Okay.
But we'll try to figure out, how to get you the things that you need to get, the beach up and running this year and sustain it through next year. Through the
Okay.
season.
Thank you.
My only other question pertained to cleaning services and the bathrooms. So what is the expectation from the town standpoint that rec staff should be handling? How is that working with professional cleaning? Like
So what our intention was is we have our maintenance people who would normally be there in the morning and to open it up and clean it. And we are hiring a part-time DPW worker who will be dedicated pretty much to deal with your recreation commission throughout his tenure with us. Obviously, if we can get some seniors to help with, for their hours that they need for community service, that would also help. We don't have a professional cleaning service crew to come in to do this every day. Unless we're gonna deal with the porta johns that we would probably put down at Fogland. Those would be professionally cleaned as they, empty them and refill them. But we would still have to clean them, like Sarah said, the doors, the generic surfaces on them periodically. I know there is guidance on how often we're gonna need to have to do that. I haven't seen all that guidance. So you're gonna have to show that to me as well so that we know exactly how often we need to do this.
Chris,
We're also gonna have to get the cleaning supplies to do it.
Joe Perry,
Sure.
I'd be willing to go down on a weekend and volunteer to do something like that to help out, just to get us through this, budget process.
Okay.
I'm sure there are other members of the recreation committee that would probably do the same thing too, right, Ed?
Right, Joe.
Well, I think that's a good suggestion, is that we put a call out for volunteers to see what we can do to help do that. And like, as far as doing the beach passes, I'll volunteer, to do these on Saturdays with you till we get them completed. And, I'm sure we'll get some other volunteers to help as well. But we don't have a professional cleaning crew right now to do anything else in town other than our maintenance people. But they're only here available during Monday through Friday, or, the non-holidays. I mean, the days that aren't holidays. So we are going to have to deal with the weekend issues. So if we can get the kids who need hours to do that during the weekends, that would be great.
Yeah, and so the guidelines from the state just say public areas should be cleaned in accordance with Department of Health and CDC guidelines, with the exception of picnic tables. So at Fogland, we might need to consider if that just involves, those are sort of a hazard anyway, so it might be warranted to look at doing something with those. But the only thing I was concerned about is if it required professional cleaning versus us being able to take care of it. And I'm on board with Joe's suggestion of going down there and pitching in on it. I think we're all going to have to do that this year to get through from a commission standpoint. So,
You got to remember something. All these committees were built by volunteers, so I'm sure there's a lot of people that are willing to do things for the community.
I agree.
10-4, Joe.
Especially if they know
Right,
you.
Dana? Right, Dana? Dana, how's the rice pudding?
It's gone.
All right.
On.
So for bathrooms at Fogland, I know Chris Cotta and I talked about this, and I think I mentioned it to Stu. Are we gonna not open the bathrooms at Fogland and just put a couple porta potties there? And
Okay,
do we
let
want
let me ask you a question. If we're going to be volunteering, yeah, especially on the weekends, if we're going to be volunteering on the weekends, what would everybody say to saving money, expensing, to not have the porta johns and to clean the bathing bathroom areas? You know, in other words, don't eliminate the porta johns totally, get rid of the expense. And then obviously you got Manny and Phil that I know of, Manny and Phil that go down there during the week. And then you have us, when I say us, all of us that say, okay, you know how to clean a toilet? Yep, I do. Are you okay, Dana? Yeah, I don't know. Am I way out of line or
No,
I don't know.
I just hear that the facilities down there are pretty,
Yeah, that's a
Antiquated.
bigger issue.
Yeah.
I think Fogland, you can stick with the porta potties, and then Grinnell's, you keep the bathroom, you maintain
I-
that. I think
I
it's
agree.
easier.
I
I
agree.
think it's easier.
Okay. Majority rules in this country.
Well, it's-
That's what it is.
Broken toilets rule, Ed.
I
Yeah,
I
well,
don't want to clean the toilets at Fogland.
Hey, listen, I've cleaned, well, never mind. Yeah.
No.
Well, I'll tell you something. If somebody's there by the bathrooms, you won't have the problems that they have when there's nobody monitoring. If you have somebody sitting outside near the bathrooms, you won't get the messes in those bathrooms at Fogland like you get when there's nobody there. That's the whole thing. As long as there's somebody there, there's a presence, you won't
Yep.
have a problem. It's when there's nobody around. That's when they trash the place.
That's right.
Can we, if we catch somebody trashing a place, is there a way that we could bar them from going back to the beach?
Shoot 'em.
I'm sure there is,
Yeah.
but
Community
know, I-
service, you have to clean the toilets for the summer.
There you go.
So I know that when there has been a case of vandalism that was caught, there was restitution that was paid to the town to address it. I don't know how that works for somebody that just leaves a mess, and how that relates to your question about banning somebody from property. I just don't have an idea. But I think what I'm hearing from all of us is we're going to figure out where we can pitch in. The bathrooms at Fogland need to be porta potties, and we'll come up with a schedule that balances between younger volunteers getting credit, paid beach staff, and then commission staff and others. Bob Sonoma, when we started, before all this stuff came up with COVID, you volunteered to help take point on some of the beach stuff. And I'm wondering if you might be willing to help as a kind of a beach volunteer coordinator.
Definitely.
I
I
think
told
to
you I
Joe's
would, so
point-
I'm still on with that.
Perfect. So I'll connect with you offline and maybe Joe, you as well, for how do we funnel people to you that are interested in helping out and figure out a schedule that works with what Sarah needs to supplement places where we would have had to pay for it otherwise.
That's fine.
sounds good.
Cool. Awesome. All right. Just from a protocol standpoint, the only piece that I had is town council meeting is tomorrow night. Sarah and I had discussed trying to essentially do pre-sales of season passes for residents over the weekend with not opening the beaches because again, it's before June 1st. The thinking was, and this is fluid, that we would sell passes probably Sunday and then that would carry over until Thursday, where just at Grinnell's, anybody could stop by, get a pass, get it out of the way early if they wanted to. And it might be again, could be a balance of a staff member or a volunteer helping out with it. I'm totally willing to do midweek as well. The challenge for us is we don't have the passes in yet, and some of the mechanism we don't have the approval yet. And if that does come to fruition, we've got a piece that we have to go through for how we mark off who's got the book. So we have a plan in place, but we don't have all the details lined up to be able to keep going. So I think between Sarah and I will probably notify people what ends up coming up and if we need help. But the intent here is to try and give a grace period for people to get passes before the beach is open.
Okay.
That's good.
We also don't have shirts.
So you want to do this at Grinnell's too? You'd like to,
Yeah,
you'd like to
I'm
stop
thinking
this
about
off at Grinnell?
just
which is
for
fine.
for the grace period, selling them at Grinnell's. Long term, going back to doing it at both beaches and just figuring out how that'll work. So not regular season change, just preseason. So cool.
I can, if we do that, I can only be there Sunday because I have to work Monday through Thursday. I'm
Come on,
so-
Sarah, you don't have another job. That's not fair.
I might not, so don't joke about that.
Rescind my joke.
Weird profession right now.
All right. Any other comments on the beach at this particular point?
A quick question from Rick Rogers.
Hi, Rick.
Hi. I've been listening, for the last 40 minutes or 45 minutes. I came in a little late. But was it ever addressed as to the non-Rhode Island vehicles that would be coming in?
Yes.
What's your question, Rick?
Are they going, right now, of course, they're parking at Fogland and Grinnell's. Would the attendants inform them that they're not allowed?
No. Come June 1st, the governor is lifting the stay-at-home orders for any state that has lifted them. So all non-state, all out-of-state people will be welcome that have lifted their stay-at-home orders. So all those signs will need to come down.
Okay, thank you.
Deal. All right. At this particular point, are there any other comments or questions pertaining to the beach? No. Okay. I asked Dave Paul to join us to give, we've got an update on Town Farm Renovation Committee and the Dog Park Committee. I'll just very quickly give the Town Farm update. Thanks to Denise, the town treasurer, we've secured the ability to use PayPal for donations, and we'll be integrating that into the Town Farm website, recreation website, renovation website in the next week. And then we have our next meeting on June 4th, and we will have presentations from 3 of the potential vendors for the footprint, which actually should be very cool if anybody's interested in watching. So there's that. So on that note, I'm going to turn it over to Dave Paul to give an update on Dog Park.
The dog park. Joe Perry, myself, and David Paul
Hey,
walked.
Bob, sorry to interrupt. I actually have Dave on the call. He's chimed in.
Yeah.
So,
Hey, Stu, can I say one thing?
Sure.
I've got to run. I have an alarm going off in my building up in Fall River.
go.
Yes, please. Thanks,
Hey,
guys.
Chris, take
Thank you,
care.
Chris.
Okay, thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
See you, Chris.
Bye-bye, Chris.
All right. So, Bob, sorry to cut you off. I didn't mean to. I just we had invited Dave to join in on this as well, and I'd like to give him the opportunity to speak. And then I'm happy to, if you have anything else you want to add in there.
Sure,
too.
no problem. Okay.
All right, so you guys see me? I'm here,
Hey, Dave.
and you guys can hear me, right?
This weekend, Dave.
Perfect. All right, so actually, as Bob was about to say, Bob and Joe Perry and I met down at the location probably about 2 weeks ago now. We walked it. I kind of painted a vision for them of what we're looking at doing, and so at least I think Joe and Bob have a better painted picture of what we're looking at. The only lull that we really hit was when the former chair kind of went AWOL and didn't really tell us anything. Since then, myself, Barbara, even with Joe and Bob, have kind of grabbed the reins, and I've got a packet complete for the town council, and I did talk to Joe Perry today. Joe's going to go in front of the council. He's going to put it on for the council, I believe, June 8th. So we're not, it has not gone away. It never went away. We just hit a lull, and of course, COVID didn't help anything, so.
Good
Good,
stuff.
David. Good,
Thanks, Dave.
good. Excellent.
I'm pretty sure, Bob, I guess if you want to let Bob talk now, he'll probably tell you how he feels about that site. It was pretty good, so.
No, I mean, the site is a lot bigger than what I originally thought it was. It's a good sized piece of property, but right now, like Joe Perry said, we can't really move forward until the town turns the property over to us, over to the dog park. Once the town turns it over to the dog park, then we can start moving further. The other issue, I hear some people around the library complaining about parking spots and stuff like that. But like the 3 of us stated when we went and walked the area, that piece of land goes down pretty far to the road that goes into that development back there. So we could actually put an entrance on that road, and people could park in the recreation area as an overflow or as a main parking and use the library parking lot as an overflow. But then again, really, we can't really do anything until the town gives us the approval to use the property.
Bob, I gotta just say one thing. In 21 years I've been in this town, I gotta say this much. People bitched and moaned and complained about no lights at Booger Marsh and Fish. Now you put the lights in at Booger Marsh and Fish, and they bitch and complain. So you're not gonna win this one, but we will win, Bob. But you know what I'm saying? You can't keep everybody happy. It's unbelievable.
62 years, I haven't given up yet.
Oh, no, and God bless you and Joe both. Believe me, God bless you two both. But it's just like, wow. Man, I'll tell you. Oh, the lights. No, you gotta wait to take a left. You gotta be kidding me. You had to wait to take a left anyway.
Ever hear the phrase stubborn Portuguese? Look up
Hey,
the dictionary.
hey,
My
Councilman,
picture's right there.
I
All
married
right,
one.
so on that particular note, my two comments are, one, this is a standing item on our agenda. Dave, I appreciate you jumping in too. If there's ever, anytime you want, it's there. I'd also offer, and I think I've mentioned this to a couple of you folks on that committee, I would connect with the library trustees, just even to have somebody there that's aware of what you're doing, because I think it'll make your life easier in the long run. And so as somebody that sits on the library foundation, one of the things about that parking area is it might be worth considering, could you extend the parking spaces, put in a new row that's closer to where you see the dog park going, so there would be the opportunity for increased parking that could benefit both sides. So I don't, no pun intended, have a dog in that fight, but just think it might be worth you guys connecting with them.
Hey, one point. When you and I talked, Stu, about asking Kim, you brought up Kim to join us. I plan on reaching out to her to see if she would be interested in joining and getting on the committee. So we do have a connection, a link between the library and the dog park. So that's something that I'm trying to do.
Yeah, and the Kim he's referring to is Kim Sutherland, who's also the representative to the Library Foundation, and she's awesome. So just
So, Stu, real quick also, before I let you guys conduct your, the rest of your business. So I'm not exactly sure when, we had the endorsement, so to speak, but, while we were meeting, I guess as an official group, before COVID, we did get the endorsement, and I know Rick's on this call as well. We essentially have the endorsement of DPW, police, fire, because that land does sit behind Station 3 and technically is fire department land, and also Catherine as well. Also, one of the things that I have in the packet, just to let you guys know, is that we are going to do everything we can to cut off access from the fire station land, from the fire station end to the dog park. So that way nobody's walking through. They do a lot of training back there. They don't need people walking through the fire department property to get to that back end property. So it's pretty well covered. I could actually send you guys a copy of the packet as well, that I'm going to be sending to the council. But we've got most of the bases covered. And, again, just like you do a lot of, Stu, I'm going to give credit to the people that step up. Bob Sonoma, he's a wonderful pain in my butt, but you know what? He doesn't let this issue go completely. We make sure we keep it on the forefront. So it's going to get done. It will get done. So
Excellent, David. Excellent.
can't wait to see it. And if you need anything from us, please let us know.
fantastic. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
All right, gentlemen, take care.
You as well,
And
David.
ladies.
Good night, David.
Good night, Dave.
Don't forget the ladies, David.
I didn't forget them. They're on a different screen. I had to move over.
Oh, there you are. There you are. Okay.
All right.
Take care,
Take
buddy.
care, folks.
Take care, David.
I did want to just mention one other thing on Town Farm while I got it here. The Chief Jones and I met with the folks that had done the security system at Grinnell's and got an estimate for what a security system at Town Farm would look like, just considering if we're going through this. And so we looked at it in multiple phases. Chris Cotta, I'll share that with you. It was sort of a due diligence piece. So we have an idea, but based on the fact that there was some vandalism on one of those fields earlier this year, it just seemed to make sense to think about what the cost would be. I think the total expense for all three was like 18,000, which was pretty reasonable in my mind for high def systems that would feed back to the police station, but no, pretty good. So I'd like to take a request to take the agenda out of order. I noticed Linda is in the waiting room, and what I'd like to do is give her the opportunity to move the public comment down directly above new business. So could I just
I make
entertain
a
a motion?
motion, Stu, to get it moved.
Awesome. We've got Ed. Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
All right, Bob, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All
Aye.
right. Okay. Just gonna buzz her in, as it were. All right. Linda, you are in the meeting if you can see us. Second here. All right. Linda, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can. Hi, this is Stu Gilfillan.
Hi, Stu.
Hi there. The floor is yours.
Okay, did you want me to speak about the RV seasonal pass issue first?
I think it's up to you what you want to address. So far in the agenda, we looked over the document that outlined what a potential plan would be. And just to give you a very quick recap,
Yes.
Chris Ramalan mentioned that they are seeking a grant through the DEM that would evaluate Fogland as a whole, and there might be an opportunity to look at incorporating in the definition of some RV parking spots,
Okay.
what that would look like. And his
Okay.
recommendation, and I think the commission so far agreed with it, is that it's worth taking the time to plan it out, but perhaps not put in something new until 2021. But
That's
again, we're continuing to evaluate. So
Yes,
any comments you have?
thank you for that. That's wonderful news. Thank you for all the work that you've done. I do see on the chart that you sent me, the season pass for RV seniors 62 and over for a town resident would be $50 for the season. And that I think is great. I think that's fair. It's what we paid at South Shore. And I think it's going to generate some income for us, for the Recreation Committee and also for the beach. Steve and I were there 2 days ago when there were 3 campers from Tiverton. So, you know, that's $150 now that I know there's at least 3 that would come in. And throughout the summer, we see so many, and I have spoken to all of them. I always approach them and introduce myself, find out if they're from Tiverton, and tell them what I wanted to be working on for this coming year. And they all seem to agree and have no problem with paying, you know, a $50 fee for the season and a separate fee when it does, if it does come to overnight. It's fair. We do take up 3 spots, and I think that's great. When would this begin? Like, when would the RV people need to have our pass?
Sure. So at the moment, what's been submitted to the town council and will be reviewed tomorrow, there's actually an open session, it's a $25 pass. So it's the same extension from last year.
Okay.
So there's no difference in that. What I think we're looking at here, and the document that I had circulated and did share with you, because a lot of the content actually was derived from the letter you sent us.
Yes.
I think this is something you probably wouldn't see go into effect until 2021 when more research had been done. So the pricing differences in that element of it, I don't know that you're going to see us be able to do an overnight pass or those elements. I think you're just going to see a season pass for RVs. And
Right, and that's fine, but my question is for this year, for the RV to go for the day,
Yep.
would it be the $25 every day?
So at the moment, I can't give you a definitive, just because the town council hasn't voted on what the pricing
Oh, I
will be.
see. Okay,
Yeah, that vote's not going to happen until tomorrow. The submission, as we put it in, I believe was, Sarah, correct me if I'm wrong here, on it was $25 for an RV. And I think that constituted the pass. Is that right? Which one? What do I have here for the?
I muted myself because my neighbor's loud. $25 was the RV pass, and it looks like we had it for weekdays and weekends was the same amount.
okay,
It was
so,
a daily pass that we have on it.
okay, so that there is our issue, because we go so often, 3 to 4 times a week. There is no way I could afford to go to Fogland 4 times a week and pay $100 a week, you know, for $25 every time I go. this is why I really wanted to get the seasonal pass. Now, I know that that wasn't open yet when we went the other day. We got there a little before 8. We stayed until 6. It was great. And to me, a $50 season pass, or even if you went up to $100 for the season pass, as long as we can go unlimited, I'm not even dealing with the overnight camping yet. I mean, when it's a nice day out, we wake up, the sun's out, get the camper, and we go set up at Fogland. We would not be able to do that. And I can speak for other people with RVs that go very often. It would not be, we wouldn't be able to afford to do $25 every time we go in, because right now, a season pass for a Tiverton resident with a car is $10. Is that it?
The season pass, based on the prior rates, the ones that are still
Right,
approved, it was a
right.
free pass. Yep.
The prior rate, okay, $10. So that's for the season, which is great. They can go in anytime they want, unlimited times for the $10. And that's what I'm asking for the RV people as well, because that would be like asking the Tiverton residents with cars, with vehicles, to pay $10 every time and every day they go.
So what I will say is that the proposal to the town council is that the day pass on a weekend is $10 for vehicles every
Okay.
time, although that the season pass would be also $10.
Right.
So just from a timing standpoint, we already had submitted the request to the town council to review. It's actually gone through 2 different meetings because they had to put it on, to set up, approve it for open comment and then have the open comment. And unfortunately, due to technical difficulties, they weren't able to have their meeting on Tuesday, and now it's tomorrow.
Okay.
So
Will there be anyone from the rec commission to advise the town council? You know what I mean? I want them to fully understand exactly why we want to do this. We want to be able to have the beach accessible to us and affordable to us, just like every other resident with a vehicle, with a car.
Yep. No, I completely understand that. We can't make any changes to what's been submitted at this point right now. I
Okay.
will be on that call tomorrow to discuss with them. I think part of the reason that I was adamant about trying to put something together for this particular meeting to discuss is for exactly the reasons you've highlighted.
Right.
Just as a point of procedure, Chris, when a fee structure goes in front of the town council, do they have to adopt it or decline it as stated? Do they have the ability to make adjustments if they feel that it's justified?
I think that they had to advertise it as it is. So I think they're gonna be bound to what it is. They may be able to change the fees within it, but I don't know, because there wasn't a fee structure for RVs for a season pass, whether or not they can now add that because it was never advertised.
So when do they officially, when does Fogland Beach officially open? When I officially need to get the pass to go in? What date is that?
We haven't set that date yet.
Oh, okay. So I can still go now on nice days and without an issue.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
And I'll
Joe,
tell you what, I'll even send you an email when we're getting close to opening it, when we have that info, so you know.
Thank you. And I appreciate all the work you've done. Thank you very much. This has been an issue for us for the last 4 years. And we just want to be able to go enjoy our beach and stay there for the day without any hassles. We're willing to pay our share. We love cleaning the beach, and anything we can do to help would be great.
So Linda, just part of the discussion that the committee had earlier, and we knew that this was coming, and it's partially, I believe, why Little Compton didn't do campus this year, is the parking will be limited. There'll be
Correct.
a huge reduction in the amount of people who will be able to attend the beach. So there was some discussion as to whether or not it was fair to bring in RVs that would take up spaces that you could probably get more cars with. So I think they opted not to bring that seasonal pass issue in for this year and just move forward with what they did put in.
Oh, I thought it was because of the COVID or some other issues with the way the seawall came in and they didn't have as much room as last time. I wasn't sure, because we do pay a $50 fee for the year for South Shore, and that is unlimited. So that is no longer this year. That ended.
Correct. That ended this year because of the same issue. They have limited parking there as well. They're only gonna let 100 cars on that beach on any given day.
Well,
And Linda, just to piggyback off that point, one of our earlier discussion points on this meeting was the fact that we are going to have to reduce beach capacity at both Fogland and at Grinnell's. And so we're dealing with the same issue as is every other beach in the state.
I agree with that 100%. And, you know, when we were there, it was full, but there was still some extra spots. But if you took a walk all the way down and counted the Massachusetts plates, there would have been other spots for Tiverton residents, which there wasn't that issue. It never got to the point that a Tiverton resident could not park because of a Massachusetts resident. There was always, you know, open spaces. So that was fine.
Linda, just to clarify, come June 1st, there'll be no restriction from out-of-staters.
Okay,
The governor will lift that order come June 1st.
I see. See, well, I know Steve and I have spoken to Joe Perry about this, and I understand that really your hands are tied, that we like to go early as well. But when we go early, that's when we see all the Massachusetts cars. They arrive between 7 and 7:30. And they'll tell us right out, we have to come early. We have to come before the gate attendant is here because we don't want to pay. We don't want to pay the $5 or the seasonal or so, you know, and it frustrates me that this is my town and I see all the money that they're losing every day from the cars that come before those kids are at the gate. I mean, we can't have them there at 7 a.m. I understand that. And that's very frustrating to me. I don't know what the answer to that would be, but it's a lot of money we're losing.
Still, we should probably look at some signage about cars that are on the beach that do not have day stickers, day passes that are, you know, displayed, that if they don't come and pay their fees, then they can be towed. I mean, we'll talk to the police chief about that.
Okay, that's an issue. I mean, when was we there, Steve? When were we there? Wednesday. There were 11 Massachusetts cars there. So I'm just saying, if we were already open, you know, that's $110 on one day that we're losing. Multiply that times.
Actually, we are trying to raise the fee for or out-of-state residents up to $25 a day, I believe was the price, to try and discourage them.
Yes, great idea.
From coming to the beaches.
That would be a great idea, yeah.
But that's something I believe, Stu, am I correct? Was it $25 a day we raised it to?
I don't think it was quite to that degree. I mean, I don't have the numbers directly in front of me right at the moment, Bob. But what I would offer, Linda, just to kind of give you a lifeline on this, is I'd love to keep talking. The information you've provided so far and the correspondence you shared with us has been really valuable in this. I'm not a RV person, so I look for info wherever and help wherever I can get it.
Okay.
We're definitely sympathetic to what you're asking for. I think, as what Chris said, we're in a little bit of a bind this year as it pertains to space because, like everyone else, it's condensed. But we do want to come up with something that will work for everybody. So as we go forward, I'd say let's keep talking. We won't be able to resolve it tonight, and it won't get resolved with the town council tomorrow. But I will commit to you that we'll figure out a way to come up with a better plan as a group. So as we go forward, you know, you feel comfortable being able to go there, and you know, who knows, could be something really cool in the long run.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, all of you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Just real quick, that those out of state prices were 15 during the week and 20 on the weekend.
Yeah, I see that now on the spreadsheet. Yeah, and that would, I agree, that would dissuade them, I think, from coming in. But then again, they will still come early before the gate opens.
Right. Well, and we've talked to the chief of police about sort of enforcement, and a document I circulated to this committee. There's a couple of ways that can occur, and you know, there's ways that if a pass gets pulled, people have an ability to appeal, and so we built a couple of guidelines in for that. So
good. Okay.
We're in lockstep with the police department. Chief Jones has been a huge.
Yes, he has. I've spoken with him many times about this issue as well, and you know, he feels the same way. He has no problem with RVs there during the day or even overnight. So we just have to get all the bugs worked out and all the official words done and the passes, I guess, and that will be it.
So let's definitely keep communicating.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Bye,
Linda.
Linda.
Bye, thank you.
So, 1 minute, real quick, 1 minute. Hey, Rich, are you still on board?
I'm sorry?
Is Richard still here?
Yes,
Rick?
I am. Yes, I
Rick?
am.
Quick question for you. I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel, but it's getting more and more dangerous to get in the back of Fogland and the back in the cove with a cruiser. I'm not asking you to reinvent the road there, but boy, I'll tell you, I don't go back there, bottom out. That's all. That's enough. I'll talk to you. I'll call you tomorrow at the DPW.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Richard.
All right. Is there any new business that we need to attend to? Yeah. Before we adjourn, I just want to take 1 second to extend a huge thanks to Sarah, who has done a huge amount of work behind the scenes to help things move forward. She and I have been on multiple conference calls, webinars. She's going above and beyond, and I just wanted to say thank you for that. You've been awesome. So
Thank you.
thanks.
Sue's been doing the same.
Well,
Thank you both.
I also appreciate you putting up with my stupid ideas occasionally. So, always.
I try to speak up about it and then
I love how you do it because like the third time you mention you don't think it's a good idea, I'm like, I got it now. I'm good.
well, because you don't always listen.
Oh, no,
so
I
have
heard
to
you.
say it.
That's a guy thing.
I'm sorry, did you say something? Anyway, all right,
Hey.
on that note, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to-
Motion. Go ahead.
Hey all.
I got a motion from, let's say, Rachel, and then Ed seconded.
Second it.
All in favor, just wave your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Leave button.